Yeah. Um, I think so. Let's talk about this then. The report today. I don't know if you've even seen this, Marcus. Yeah, is Bray Wyatt is expected to sign with AEW.
I've not heard it. So
Meltzer reported today on the Wrestling Observer Radio. He said now nothing is like concrete. There's likely no pen to paper, obviously, because his non-compete clause is up. But it seems to be rolling in that direction. That Bray Wyatt will be all elite forthcoming once that non-compete does run out. Mark, we've talked about it before. Now that it's becoming like this is little bit more of a clear indicator here. How would you incorporate Bray Wyatt into the AEW picture?
I know that you and I had discussed possibly bringing him in as just what's his name? Windham Rotunda. I know that was a possibility, and I think that it could work. You could bring him as Windham Rotunda. However, I do think that there's this thing in pro wrestling where it's almost like campy B movies, right? Where it's like we appreciate a lot of the campy B movie stuff that comes with pro wrestling, which is why we appreciate characters like The Undertaker. And there's kind of a crossover whenever it comes to wrestling fans between that genre and the horror genre. There always has been, and I think that there always will be. And The Undertaker kind of helped to pioneer it, but it's been a thing. And so I strongly believe, I'm not saying bring him in as the Fiend, but I am saying that like might not hurt to bring him in as like a split personality nut job, where like sometimes he's Windham Rotunda and sometimes he's this other thing.
Yeah, so maybe like not a supernatural villain like say
like The Undertaker was summoning lightning and shit.
But more like a Victor Zsasz of Batman or something.
Sure. But like basically it's like two different sides of this one human where it's like, which guy's going to come out this week? Which guy am I going to see backstage during this segment? You know?
Yeah, like you don't want to go into, I think Tony Khan's kind of indicated that he doesn't want to go into the route of like, broken Matt Hardy stuff where it's like, teleportation and stuff like that again or anything to that effect.
I think he learned his lesson.
Yeah, I think that's just a tough thing to get over when you don't have a live crowd either. I mean, geez, oh man. So that's a tough thing. But let's see. I think there you can find something to that effect. I think it just makes sense, I think, from a really good Pat Lapronde. Geez, I know Pat Legrand. I can't remember his name, but he wrote the Andre the Giant book. Dave Meltzer had him on Wrestling Observer Radio to talk Dominic DeNucci, R.I.P. by the way, Pittsburgh's very own.
Oh man, what a loss!
Mm-hmm.
He trained. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Dominic DeNucci, he trained Mick Foley. He trained Shane Douglas. He trained a lot of people, as a matter of fact. And, not to mention he had a great career of his own. He was tag team partners with Bruno Sammartino. He was in the Pittsburgh Studio Wrestling back in the day.
The top star in Australia, too, for a long set of time.
Yep. So Dominic DeNucci, an unbelievable talent. Dominic and I both had the pleasure of meeting him about a year ago, actually. Maybe over a year ago now. It's been a while. Yeah, probably closer to 2 years by now. But had the pleasure of meeting him. Such a kind man. Huge loss for wrestling business.
Exactly. Yeah, very big loss. But he was on there, Pat Lapronde, and he talked about how would you bring how would you bring Bray Wyatt in as like he pitched what everybody kind of talks about is maybe the new leader of the Dark Order, and I think you could do something like that. If you shift the whole perspective of Dark Order.
Well, Dominic, I got to say, Steven's really tickling my fancy a little bit here tonight because he's saying bring in Bo Dallas, Rotunda Brothers. Dominic, what about like Minnesota Wrecking Crew? Forget all this supernatural shit. Bring him in as like the Rotunda Boys.
You know what?
And go old school with it.
There's a play that we were always, or I was very interested in doing by Martin McDonough called Lonesome West, where two brothers, like dysfunctional, kind of like us, they were like super violent and super wild and just like nuts. They're just nuts. And they lived in Ireland and stuff. But if you created those guys from that perspective, where you almost blend the Windham Rotunda as like this, like, nut job kind of, and you have his brother too in the mix, you can create a couple of wild men coming in and run a rough shot on in the tag division.
I mean, I've been watching a lot of old school NWA recently, specifically the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, Ole and Arn, and watching those guys and how vicious they were and how great they were as heels. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that come about again.
Yeah, no, I would love that. I think that'd be very awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty darn cool. Heck, and you could bring in. I know we're signing a lot of people here, but Joe Hennig too, maybe to get in that mix.
Love Joe Hennig.